This is the kind of action we need to keep seeing. And I'm sick of these Democrats. And you know what? Bill Maher can kiss my ass, too, because he criticized Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. And I'm sorry. This is what open dissent. And this whole deal like, no, even Adam Schiff, well, how some Democrats responded, during Trump's speech. Man, damn this. I'm tired of people acting like this man and their actions are normal. No, you got to sit here and go at them, and you got to stay on their necks.
You really do. I'll take it one step further. I think we need to bring back fighting on the floor, like literally beating somebody's ass. I know it's not necessarily conventional, but it is not unheard of. We have precedent for it, and we have rules as to what can happen when you do it. I think it needs to happen because words are not enough sometimes. Sometimes you need a skin reminder, frankly, to the face. And, if you have the means to do it, by all means, do it. That's all I got.
No, indeed. I'm a Congo. I know you got to go. I really appreciate it. Thank you so very much for joining us. Folks, Presley wasn't the only sister member of Congress who went there. It's time for the Crockett Chronicles. So last week, Republicans had a hearing dealing with these sanctuary cities, and they brought in the mayors of Boston, Chicago, Denver, and New York City under the House Oversight Committee, where they pretty much, kissed the butt of Eric Adams, praising him left and right, even though Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was all over his behind about the sweetheart deal his attorneys negotiated with the Department of Justice to drop the charges. Well, in that hearing, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, let's just say she had a few words for the mayors, as well as that 34 count indicted and convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump.
Chair recognizes Ms. Crockett from Texas.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much to our mayors that are here. And I really quickly want to touch on something, because I know that many of you prepared for today's hearing by making sure that you got a little bit of information about immigrants and crime in your cities. Let me ask each of the mayors, just yes or no. Have any of you been made aware of any immigrant that has had 34 felony convictions that has still been able to roam around in your cities? Anyone?
No, ma'am.
34 felony convictions.
No, Congresswoman.
From the immigrants. Anybody?
I'm not aware.
Oh, okay. I'm just curious, because we are so concerned about crime, and I know that my Republican colleagues would never want anybody with 34 felony convictions roaming around, because that could be a danger to the community. But I will move on. The Republicans put more effort into producing their little propaganda trailer for this hearing than they have into reforming America's immigration system. And that's why we're here today. In fact, Republicans are beating up on the vast majority of you about what you're doing for your citizens, but the last time I checked, you're actually showing up. You may or may not be aware, but the NRCC just instructed Republicans to stop their town hall meetings because their constituents were showing up and telling them to do your jobs. If I had to sum up some of what you have said thus far today, I would sum it up as you have been trying to tell them as politely as you can to do their jobs. Oh, okay. In fact, we know that they have not done their jobs, and so they're trying to force you to do it for them by turning your local law enforcement officers into ICE agents. They have this fake outrage about how immigrants are stealing resources and jobs from Americans when residents of Boston, Chicago, New York City, and Denver are subsidizing public services in their districts and their states because the Republicans refuse to ensure that their constituents earn a livable wage. Look, they don't have a plan to fix immigration in America because they don't want to. Mass deportation isn't a plan. Arresting kids in schools or worshipers in church isn't a plan. But there are important points to discuss as it relates to immigration in America. So, Mr. Beer, In January, you testified before the Judiciary Subcommittee on Immigration, Integrity, Security, and Enforcement. During that hearing, we played a little game called Rhetoric or Reality. Do you remember that?
I remember, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead for round 2. Why don't we? Rhetoric or reality? Immigrants are a burden to the American taxpayers because they deplete our federal resources.
That would be rhetoric.
Correct. In fact, the Congressional Budget Office estimates that immigrants will lower U.S. deficits by a cumulative $1 trillion and increase the U.S. economy's size by nearly $9 trillion over 10 years. Is that correct?
That is correct.
In 2023, 47 million immigrants paid nearly $652 billion in taxes, $58.1 billion in taxes alone into Texas. Rhetoric or reality? During his first administration, Trump improved enforcement of U.S. immigration laws.
He did not.
In fact, President Trump closed almost all immigration courts for removal proceedings, cut prosecutions for unauthorized entry by 87%, cut ICE removals to the lowest level in the history of the agency, and released 9,000 people with violent crime convictions back into our communities. Is that correct?
That's right, yes.
So rhetoric or reality? President Trump's immigration policies make American communities safer.
No, they don't make communities safer.
In fact, nearly 100,000 unauthorized immigrants have obtained legal status through their cooperation with law enforcement. And local law enforcement agencies have more than 300,000 pending requests for immigrants seeking legal status based upon their cooperation with law enforcement, according to the Department of Homeland Security. Is that correct?
That's right. Immigrants work with law enforcement to stop and solve crimes.
Thank you. That was one of my rhetoric or reality questions. Sorry. The question was immigrants without legal status can help stop crime. That's correct.
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
All right. And Mr. Beer, isn't it true that Republicans are threatening to illegally strip cities of law enforcement grants intended for local policing and public safety if they don't go along with Trump's immigration agenda?
That's right. They want to redistribute the fiscal burden onto the Democratic cities and away from the Republican ones.
Which brings me to my next point. Mayor Adams, do you believe that President Trump is weaponizing the Department of Justice against local governments like New York City?
As I stated publicly, thank you for the question, Congresswoman. And as I indicated previously, this case is in front of Judge Hull, and I'm going to allow the judicial process to go forward.
Well, let me ask it a different way. There was a quote from he had to get advice. So can I just get he was getting advice. So can I get a little bit of time? I didn't interrupt while he was getting advice.
Because they were advising it.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is the last one. There was a quote from Mr. Homan, I believe, where he said he will be in your office and up your butt if there was a problem with whatever agreement. We don't know what it was. My question to you, I know you've been asked about it a couple of times today, is was he lying when he said that you made an agreement that would cause him to be up your butt if you failed to uphold your end of it?
And gentlelady's time's expired, but if the mayor wants to answer it, he can.
Congresswoman, I answered that question, and it appears as though we're asking the same questions over and over and over again. My comments are not going to change. No quid pro quo, no agreement. I did nothing wrong.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. And right now, we're accepting investors in our $17 million round to revolutionize the future of social media. Today, for just $399, you can own 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. While the big platforms have grown too massive and disconnected from their users, Fanbase is building a platform where creators and users truly come first. We've already raised $4.8 million from everyday investors who believe in this vision, and now you can join them. This is your chance to invest in a social media tech company with over 1 million users that is disrupting media by allowing anyone to reach all of their following and monetize their content from day one. The market is changing, big platforms are failing to serve their users, and Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now. Invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the future of social media.